As they go in at half-time between Burnley and Liverpool, Roberto Firmino has put Liverpool 1-0 in front just before the half-time whistle. So Liverpool 1, Burnley 0 at half-time, and that will calm some nerves, you suspect. In the other game just going half-time, it's 1-1 between West Brom and West Ham. West Ham have just equalised. It has just gone full-time, meanwhile, between Crystal Palace and Arsenal. Arsenal have won that game by 3-1. They scored 2 goals in injury time to win the game, Arsenal. So remarkable finish there in Roy Hodgson's last home game for Crystal Palace. And then much earlier on this evening, if you missed it, Spurs 1, Aston Villa 2. Disappointing Spurs performance. Harry Kane and the team doing a lap of honour afterwards. You might wonder if that's Harry Kane saying goodbye type thing, but a disappointing note to sign off on if that is the case. 2-1 defeat to Aston Villa at home this evening. Newcastle 1-0 winners at home to Sheffield United, and Everton also winners this evening against Wolves by a Richarlison goal 2-0. So they are your 6 Premier League games this evening. The football journalist Philippe Auclair was with us earlier on. We're going to play some of the chat now. So Karim Benzema last night dramatically named in France's Euro 2020 squad after an absence of about 6 years. Hasn't played for the country since late 2015 as a result of his alleged, and he denies it, but alleged association with an attempted blackmail case involving his former teammate Mathieu Valbuena. So this has lingered on and been a huge point of contention over the last 6 years, as you might imagine. In January of this year, French prosecutors announced that Benzema would be facing trial later on this year in October. And yet, on the eve of Euro 2020, there's been a fairly serious about-turn on Didier Deschamps' part. He's been pretty consistent on this issue right the way through. So, therefore, I started with Philippe Auclair and asked him how surprised was he at the announcement last night.
Very surprised. Nobody had seen it coming. There hadn't been any leaks, be it from the players' camp or from Didier Deschamps' camp or the French Federation. There were no indications that this would be the case. And I think when we heard the story to start with from L'Équipe and Le Parisien on the evening, on the eve of the announcement, we all thought, not too sure about this one. I'll believe it when I see it. And we saw it, and now we believe it. We struggle to believe it, but we believe it now. It was a huge surprise for absolutely everybody.
Why do you think Deschamps has changed his mind here?
I think there are a number of factors. There is, of course, the sporting factor, the fact that France hasn't been necessarily that convincing, particularly in the attacking side of their game over the last few qualifiers in particular. I mean, the games against Ukraine, against Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kazakhstan, it was, were not exactly convincing. And there was a sense or a feeling that France was missing something or someone up front, and that it made sense to have back in the team one of the world's greatest number 9s. And of that, there is absolutely no doubt. He's having an absolutely magnificent season at the age of 33. He's never been as good as he is right now in a team that is fundamentally dysfunctional. He makes it look as if this team is not. And so there is a sporting argument which is totally incontrovertible. There is also, I think, a certain amount of pressure, perhaps from above. It's no secret that people at the French FA have wanted Didier Deschamps to bring Karim Benzema back into the national team for a while. Gentle pressure, perhaps, but pressure nonetheless. And perhaps a need for all the parties involved, that includes the player and the manager, to sweep the matter under the carpet once and for all, because it's really been poisoning their lives for so long now, since, 2016, really, basically, since all the facts came to light, or the facts or the allegations came to light, despite the fact, as you said, the trial is set to take place in October 2021. But I think all these factors combined to make Didier Deschamps' decision more understandable, if not less surprising.
And do we know, for instance, have the French FA always been of the opinion that Benzema should be included in the squad, or if they change their opinion on the situation?
I think Noël Le Graët, who's been re-elected president of the French FA, who is pretty much the man who decides everything in the French FA, has been pretty clear in private, if not in public, that he would be very happy if Karim Benzema rejoined the French national team for quite a while.
Okay.
And Didier Deschamps has actually, accepted the fact that there have been a number of discussions with Le Graët in the recent past about it.
So this has dragged on a long time, to say the least, a number of years now. And as you said, we're only getting to trial stage this October. You used the phrase there that it's poisoned the various lives. So just to refamiliarise ourselves with the situation, and you can correct any mistakes I make here, because I'm sure things have been lost through translation over the years. So Benzema, in effect, he's alleged back in 2015 of having pressurised his former national teammate to deal with the blackmailers. The blackmailers threatened to reveal an intimate video in which Valbuena had featured on a camera phone. And in effect, Benzema was approached by a childhood friend that year, as the accusation, to act as an intermediary and to convince Valbuena that the best thing to do was deal directly with them, I presume pay the ransom. Instead, Valbuena went straight to the police as opposed to taking that advice. And a number of other people will stand trial in the case. Benzema has denied any wrongdoing. He reacted to the trial date now being set on Instagram earlier this year by posting, "Yes, finally, let's go. Let the masquerade end forever." So broadly speaking, is that a pretty good summary of what Benzema is accused of doing?
I think it's a pretty decent summary. I mean, we can't go too much into detail because this is sub judice, and we have a trial. Loads of things have been leaked to the press in France, including the transcripts of discussions that Karim Benzema had with Juge d'Instruction, basically the coroner in charge of the investigation. I can't really say much on that. I mean, we've talked together about this before.
Yeah.
It is a judicial matter, so I think we've got to be very careful about what we say. But what you have said, I think, is a pretty good and fair summing up of what we have in front of us at the moment, and what has been poisoning the atmosphere for a very long time. But in a way, it's not the affair itself which has poisoned the atmosphere. It's what's happened after, the consequences, the effects, the aftershock of the affair. That's what really has poisoned the atmosphere in the French camp and beyond.
So if we go beyond then into society, I mean, I know the French, was it president or prime minister, came out at the time and said Benzema had no place in the French squad when these allegations emerged.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Is it possible to measure what the French public at large thought about the situation?
Very delicate. I'm walking on eggshells here. Yes, I think people felt very strongly at the time about it. I think people still feel very strongly in some parts at the moment. I think more importantly, the news has been welcomed by almost everybody I've spoken to, because this has really gone way, way beyond it's not simple, it's pretty serious stuff, but a problem of behavior, of misbehavior, whatever you want to call it, of a few individuals. We have to remember that there was this also inflammatory, and I think there's no other word for it, interview that Karim Benzema gave to Marca in Spain, in which he questioned the decision of Didier Deschamps to take him out of the French national team, saying that he had given up to the racist element in France. We have to remember that. And we have to remember as well that Didier Deschamps also took Mathieu Valbuena, who was the victim, out of the French national team at the time, for reasons which I think everybody could understand. Now, I'm not sure that Karim Benzema, who is, by all intents and purposes, I would say a good guy. Is that all right to say that? I mean, I don't mean to be condescending. He's considered to be a really good chap, actually.
Okay.
He might have been naive. The expression was certainly not the most felicitous. And as a reaction to that, Didier Deschamps' house in Concarneau was vandalized, and some graffiti were tagged on the wall outside, racist and so forth. So you can imagine how Didier Deschamps felt about that. So, and it basically, it exploded way beyond what Deschamps, Benzema, Valbuena, everybody thought would happen. And it took on distinctly toxic, poisonous connotations.
Okay.
And which is why so many people like me, I'm relieved. I'm not sure it's the right decision, by the way, in terms of football. I'm not sure that it's going to work out all right. But like almost everybody else in France, I'm relieved that we might have turned a corner in this really sordid affair.
And when you say, so this spilled beyond football and a football conversation, and Benzema has made the points he's made about racism and race. So was this on political talk shows, and was this held up as an example of a dysfunctional relationship with race in the country? Was it, going to all these places, yeah?
Absolutely. And I have to say it went through, and the way it was exploited by people, I must be honest, is people on... probably from the extreme right as well, the extreme left, was totally distasteful.
Okay. And
actually, I can still see in France, and I'm actually quite disturbed about that. That's a personal opinion, but I'm quite happy to make it, to see that people from the extreme right National Front or Rassemblement National, whatever they're called these days, are being asked for their reactions to the reintegration of Karim Benzema. I find that totally distasteful and not serving any particular purpose, when I think most French people, and certainly almost all football fans I've spoken to, are of the opinion that, we all, it starts breathing a sigh of relief, and we're hoping that it's going to be very difficult to have like a complete reconciliation and so forth. We shouldn't be, blind to that, but it's a decision. Even if it's been taken for reasons which are reasons of expediency or reasons of personal interest, it's a decision that certainly goes, I think, the right way when it comes to healing a very deep wound within French football, which I don't believe either Didier Deschamps or Karim Benzema himself wanted to create in the first instance. They've become hostages of a situation which is way beyond them, and which is very revealing of the fracture lines within French society at the moment. It became a real, a cause célèbre, I believe that you could say that. And for example, somebody like Olivier Giroud, who took over as number 9 in the French national team and did very well, by the way, was subjected to all sorts of abuse because he was not Karim Benzema by Benzema defenders.
Okay.
And on the other hand, there were people whose criticism of Karim Benzema very much had a racial and racialist overtone.
Right.
So, if we can say goodbye to that, that would be wonderful.
And Benzema, generally, Philippe, I'm wondering if he's had an uneasy relationship with portions of the French public even before this issue. I ask because I saw a quote of his from December 2006 with RMC. So Benzema grew up in an eastern suburb of Lyon, but his family very much come from Algeria, so he's of Algerian descent. He said of Algeria, "It's my parents' country, it's in my heart, but it's true, I will play in the French team. I will always be present for the French team, but that's more for the sporting side because Algeria is my country." And I think as well, did he draw criticism for those comments, but also for supposed reluctance to sing the national anthem? Has all of that been swirling around with Benzema in advance of even this controversy?
Yeah, Michel Platini never sang the French national anthem. Yeah, that's it. I would say one thing for Karim Benzema as well, when it comes to people who question his loyalty to the country of his birth, France. He's one of the very few footballers I know, French footballers I know, who have made a big career outside of France and have earned millions to pay tax in his native country. He does. Not everybody does. So I think that kind of patriotism sits quite nicely with me. And I think this kind of criticism is totally out of order, to be absolutely honest with you. But it says very much more about the people who make it than the people who are the supposed targets.
Yes. So you mentioned the extreme factions of politics, and we can guess their views, and the Benzema supporters, I mean, I'm sure for people of similar descent, for instance, they're right behind him. What about the great middle who are just looking on and trying to make up their minds on this? How is it possible to discern where they are in all this and where they are on Benzema?
Yeah, well, you can imagine in France it's all been about opinion polls about what do you think about Karim getting back in the national team, and I think the answer is 86% are in favour.
Okay.
So I think I've answered your question here.
Okay. Yeah, so, and would there be a sense and I know we're now getting back into territory where we don't want to comment too much on the case, but that he's been harshly treated, that, is Benzema denying that he ever spoke to Valbuena about this, or is he saying, no. Look, I did talk about this, but I was just giving him some genuinely friendly advice. I wasn't pressurising him. Do we know what his version of events is?
Yes, that's very much on the lines that you were describing a second ago, so that he talked to Valbuena, he admitted to it, and that he was basically trying to give him advice in a very delicate situation,
okay.
And nothing more than that, and certainly not encouraging him to pay money to blackmailers. That's the way he's presented it. Again, it is very, very, very delicate territory, because a lot of what we're talking about here has been leaked to French media, and honestly should have remained a matter for the instruction of the affair, which is going to come to court in October. We'll know then. We can hear what they have to say. But Karim Benzema has never denied the fact that he spoke to Mathieu Valbuena about the famous sex tape.
Yes.
And what he said exactly, we'll find out. I mean, there are recordings which have been circulating, but I don't think it would be right for us to quote from them.
Right, okay. Recordings of conversations between Benzema and police, or Benzema and Valbuena?
Benzema and Valbuena.
Okay, so I presume France's WhatsApps were hopping.
Well, to be absolutely honest, I don't know how the conversations were recorded. I don't know if the transcripts are correct.
Okay.
So I'm reserving my judgment on that. But I know you're hinting at, and I'm like you. I'm a little bit puzzled, shall we say.
And one last thing on this again, because I know we have to be fair to all parties concerned. Has Valbuena spoken on the issue, as in, does he think that Benzema was taking advantage of him and pressurising him, or does he think Benzema was giving friendly advice but the prosecutors disagree? Where is Mathieu Valbuena on this situation, do we know?
To be honest, I don't know if Mathieu Valbuena has changed his position from what I read and heard from him at the time, but he was not too happy about the role that his French teammate had played in the whole affair.
Right,
That's the way I would put it.
Okay. I mean, we're all probably more familiar with Benzema's career. What effect has it had on Mathieu Valbuena, the whole episode?
Well, I think that it was certainly, as far as his career in the French national team, that was it. And then he went to Olympiacos. And to be honest, he was fantastic with Olympiacos. I do remember seeing him at the Emirates playing against Arsenal and running, Mathieu is, I can't remember his age now, but he's not a young man anymore, not a young footballer anymore. But he was running rings around Arsenal on that night. So it certainly has hurt Mathieu Valbuena's career a great deal, his image, his reputation. He's the genuine victim of that. Because, by the way, without going into details, the so-called sex tape is really nothing that he should be ashamed about. So there you go.
Right.
He's the victim in the whole story.
So why did his
forget that? And
French
thank you
career
for reminding us of that.
Yeah. Why did his French career end? I don't really get that.
Well, I mean, because Didier Deschamps basically said, it was impossible to have either of the players in the team because of what it would mean for the atmosphere within the camp. So they were both like, guys, take a breather. You have to get out of this. And Valbuena was already, I wouldn't say it was on the way out, but he certainly was in the latter stage, perhaps, of his international career. And then also he has this problem that most people of his generation has, is that the guys coming behind them are very, very good indeed, and that there isn't much space left for a creative midfielder in that particular team. If you look at the 26 that Didier Deschamps has selected, you'll see the competition is pretty fierce. There are probably a few names which aren't there. You think, I can understand that. So, Mathieu Valbuena was perhaps not in the same situation. He was not. Karim Benzema was, we knew that, the best number 9 of his generation, of the so-called 88, 87 generation. Mathieu Valbuena was a very fine player, a very creative midfielder, a kind of wonderful, jack-in-the-box kind of player. Absolutely loved him, wonderful touch and so forth. But perhaps, he didn't have quite the same aura and the same influence that Karim Benzema had. But, it's not as if Mathieu Valbuena hasn't been cast aside, in a kind of furnace because of what happened. There was an immediate decision that had to be taken by Didier Deschamps. He took it, and Mathieu Valbuena was a victim of it.
Yeah.
And then he was a victim of the fact that France has got a great many very, very fine players in his position.
Philippe, I've read a few pieces saying that throughout his tenure, Deschamps has prized harmony in the squad and prized good feel in the squad. And look, we saw the World Cup in South Africa. Lest you need reminding that when things go wrong in a French camp, they can go very wrong. So this represents, I presume, some kind of risk on Deschamps' part and a break with how he has conducted his tenure thus far when it comes to really prioritising harmony within the squad. You've got to presume maybe he's taken the temperature in the dressing room. This seems like a big old risk ahead of a major tournament where they're going to be boxed up together. Yeah,
I agree with you, and that's where my doubts lie, because he hasn't taken the temperature of the dressing room. He hasn't talked to any of the senior players. You can bet that if he had spoken to any of the senior players before going to see Karim Benzema, apparently in April, and having this long conversation with him, and then all the tractations which followed, the news would have filtered almost. You couldn't have avoided it. Agents would have spoken, the brother would have spoken, the cousin, whatever, the girlfriend, the boyfriend. It would have happened. It didn't happen because they genuinely kept it to themselves. So the players, it came to them as a surprise just as much as it came to us when we heard the news. So there is an element of danger because Didier Deschamps is very much somebody who was molded in the Aimé Jacquet mold. Apologies for the repetition, but of a team that is first and foremost a group of people, group of men who are all, in agreement about the same objective. What Aimé Jacquet called a commando. And that's very much what Deschamps is like, which explains, by the way, why you will have, and it will surprise a few Tottenham fans, that Momo Sissoko is there. And you think, didn't have a great season. Yes, but he's been an absolutely amazing teammate and a great dressing room man for Didier Deschamps. So, and he's very loyal. So, and Benzema is not necessarily unanimously liked or loved within that dressing room, the current dressing room. So they will have a few things to sort out. And but the work starts now. It's very close to the start of the competition, I must say. And I have to say that I think the disruption could be perhaps bigger than Deschamps and Benzema and everybody else think it is. I hope not, of course not. But it is a change in attitude. The tonality has changed. It's not quite the same. Deschamps was very much in the logic of a certain type of team spirit and team building that he had inherited from Jacquet and Lemaire, and which went missing after Jacquet and Lemaire went away, and that is brought back, and with huge success. And it is a gamble, and I think that beyond the satisfaction, and I think the relief that everybody feels, there is an interrogation, which is whether this coming back, there's a homecoming of Karim Benzema, which makes sense in so many ways, could not also be quite disruptive when it comes to the preparation for the Euro. And that, honestly, and that I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but only the competition will tell. It's not because you've got Kylian Mbappe, Antoine Griezmann, and Karim Benzema as a front three, which, on paper, you think, my goodness, this is crazy. It's not because of that France is bound to be successful. And I was thinking about it earlier today. I was thinking about the 2002 World Cup, when France arrived at the tournament with the top scorer in La Liga, in Serie A, the top scorer in Ligue 1, the top scorer in the Premier League, and still went out in the group phase. So there's no insurance against failure, especially in the kind of group that France finds itself in, which is absolutely, to be honest, it's the worst one you could possibly have drawn for them. But we shall see. There is an element. It is a bit of a risk. And when listening to Didier Deschamps, when he talked to my colleagues on M6, announcing the team and talking about Benzema yesterday, I felt that there was in his voice a part of he was. I'm not saying he was preempting anything. More that he was asking the question. He's still asking himself the question. I've taken a decision. It's my decision. But I'll have to live with it, and I know there's a part of risk of it. It was not at all triumphant. It was not. Oh, we've soothed all. We've calmed the waters. Everything is fine between him and me now. It was none of that. There was none of that. It was more. We took a decision. I took a decision, a long, hard look. I discussed it with my very close friends within the staff. We decided that this was the thing to do. Didn't go into details. That leads me to believe that for Deschamps, it is, something he had to swallow. In French, we say to swallow a snake.
Wow. Amazingly
I
interesting.
think he had to swallow a rather large one for this one. I don't think that. Yeah, I really do think so. Yes, absolutely.
Wow. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out. It's never dull with France, that's for sure. One last thought to throw to you and get your perspective on, I suppose. With Benzema here, race was a part of this conversation, and it seems, for as long as I've been around, that the French football team has had a political conversation around it. 1998, it was such a beautiful conversation, and it was all these different backgrounds and these faces with different colours working together, the very best of France, and it seemed to unite the country, however briefly, I'm sure, but in a sense of optimism about a togetherness, I suppose. 20 years on, they win the World Cup again. I don't know, is it the same kind of vibe or the same conversations happening? It is still very political, though. I mean, exploited for political arguments here and there, it seems, as a team, more so than most across Europe I can think of anyway.
Yes, and perhaps it's not such a bad thing. I've always maintained that the very heart of French football was the heart of an immigrant, and that you could not understand French football, its ups and downs, and particularly its ups, if you didn't understand the role that immigration played in its history, be it immigration from Poland, Italy, Spain, or Northern Africa, or the colonies. It's absolutely central. There is no French football without immigration. And you couldn't say that, I think, of any other country in Europe, any other country. And so it's at the heart of the discussion around the game. And it has been for a long time, for much longer than people think. 1998 was obviously, I think, a moment when the rest of the world awoke to that reality. But in France, we were very aware of that way before, the World Cup in France. And I was a little bit surprised when I discovered that people suddenly thought about the fact that our team was very much a team of immigrants, and that France was a country of immigrants and a country of immigration. We've always been like that, and we know it. And of course, because of the political situation, and of course we've got the presidential elections coming next year, in which we are more or less expecting a second round between the incumbent Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. Obviously, those kind of questions are going to be put to the fore. And perhaps it's not a bad thing if they are, and perhaps it's not a bad thing if when we watch football, we still think that football is not a closed bubble, and that there are things happening within football which need to be looked at. And perhaps it's not such a bad thing after all. Perhaps other countries should look at themselves as well, as like France does. I mean, I have to say, almost in a neurotic fashion.
There you are, the great Philippe Auclair with us earlier on this evening. Now, another goal between Burnley and Liverpool. Let's check in with Peter Smith.
Burnley 0, Liverpool 2, and the question now for Liverpool is, do they look for more goals to boost their goal difference, or do they keep patient with fear of perhaps being vulnerable to counter-attacks? Central defender Nathaniel Phillips claimed his first Liverpool goal, rising on the edge of the 6-yard box to plant in a header after the ball had been cleverly hung up by Sadio Mane. Burnley, though, still carry an attacking threat, with Alisson having to make a save from Wood just after the break. It's Burnley 0, Liverpool 2.
So there we are, 61 minutes in the clock. You would think that's job done for Liverpool. We're talking La Liga next, because it was Luis Suarez to the rescue for Atletico. They're on the verge of a league title.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Ready for your next big move? The trip from the fridge to the couch. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
On tomorrow's Pat Kenny Show, will the temporary traffic measures of the pandemic be retained, and will that create or eliminate congestion? Keeping our outdoor summers safe from antisocial behaviour. The countdown to the Leaving Cert exams. Professor Luke O'Neill with the latest virus and vaccine science. The Eason Book Club and more, as well as the breaking news.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With Mater Private Network.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
On News Talk.
Here at Eurocycleseurobaby.com, we hope you and your family are keeping safe. We wanted to let you know we are back and fully stocked. No annoying jingles this time, just plenty of bikes. Open 7 days a week, our stores on the Long Mile Road and Airside Swords have everything you need, from commuter bikes to electric bikes, kids bikes and more. We're also fully stocked for all things baby. Check out the range and shop online at Eurocycleseurobaby.com.
Time to give your home some love this summer? Then don't miss the Harvey Norman in-stock summer sale on furniture, bedding and homewares. Our spacious stores are fully open with a massive range of sofas, dining tables, beds, mattresses and more. In stock, ready for immediate delivery. Up to 50% off bed frames. Irish-made mattresses from a low $149. Up to 70% off duvet sets. In stock, ready to go. Shop the Harvey Norman in-stock summer sale online or safely in our spacious stores. Open until 6 p.m. daily. Don't miss out.
At the Laser and Skin Clinic, we want you to be confident in your skin. So we've just launched our exclusive body suite. No matter what your body concern, stubborn fat, loose skin, no muscle tone, cellulite, we have you covered. Call now for your free consultation at our Laser and Skin Clinics in Dublin, Mullingar and Athlone. Visit laserandskin.ie. Love your body.
Connect more with Air Mobile. Experience the speed of Ireland's largest 5G network. With the free Samsung Galaxy A52 5G on our €29.99 a month, no limits data mobile plan. For more on this amazing offer, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. €29.99 applies to existing Air broadband customers. Available on selected plans. 5G network coverage subject to availability. For terms, see air.ie.
Where birdsong carries on the breeze and leaves are rustling in the trees, a place that's warm in every weather, with the family all together. There's hills and valleys here to roam, with phones and tablets left at home. Come on, let's rise and let us go, and stay a while at the Dunlow.
Whether you want to escape from the family or with the family, do it in 5-star luxury.
The Dunlow Hotel and Gardens, a unique location, a special welcome.
Find out more at thedunlow.com.
Invisible Threads, a Go Loud original.
As we celebrate the 6th anniversary of marriage equality, Invisible Threads meets older members of the LGBTQ community who reflect on their journeys and tell their stories. From shame and isolation to conversion therapy, from living with fear to coming out as an older person. Join me, James O'Hagan, for this powerful 8-part series, winner of the first Go Loud Podship.
Subscribe to this podcast for free on the Go Loud app.
This is a UNICEF emergency appeal. India is experiencing a deadly surge in COVID-19 cases. Without life-saving medical supplies like oxygen, many lives will be lost. To support our urgent appeal, please go to unicef.ie to donate now. Thank you.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
You're welcome back. Still 2-0 to Liverpool away to Burnley. We're turning our attention to La Liga, where it seems Atletico are on the precipice. Andy West of the BBC joins us from Spain. Hi, Andy.
Hi.
So tell us about Luis Suarez and his dramatics at the weekend.
Well, he'd been in a real barren run for a couple of months. He hadn't scored. And then in the 88th minute, he pops up with a winner, which means that Atletico go into the final round of fixtures this weekend, 2 points in front of Real Madrid. So obviously, one more win and the title is theirs. And they're playing away at Real Valladolid, who have to win to have any chance of avoiding relegation. So big game all round, obviously. And Valladolid are in terrible form. Really should be Atletico's title.
Okay. And this would be just their second title since 1996. And really, it's the Diego Simeone show. He has done the most remarkable job there over quite a long time, hasn't he?
He has. It's coming up to 10 years. And he's transformed Atletico from a kind of upper mid-table team who might occasionally have a cup run into consistent title contenders. They've been there or thereabouts every year since 2013, won the league in 2014, and they've stayed up there despite obviously not having anything like the spending power of Real Madrid and Barcelona. So it's been a really, really impressive job from Simeone, and he faced a lot of criticism over the last couple of years, really, that he was too wedded to a negative style of play, a defensive style of play, that he couldn't incorporate more attacking players. But we've seen this season largely a change of style where Luis Suarez, yes, has been absolutely vital, scored 20 goals in La Liga, but there have been other players as well. That's been, for me, the key difference. It's not just been about Suarez. They've had a good range of match-winning options and a much more attack-minded team. Mostly, people will be thinking back maybe to, hang on, what about the way they played against Chelsea in the Champions League? And there have been exceptions like that, but on the whole, he's taken them forward in a more adventurous manner. Yeah,
it seems they almost reverted to type under the pressure against Chelsea. Who else besides Suarez has led this, well, we'll see, title-winning charge?
Marcos Llorente is one who has been absolutely transformed, and I'm sure a lot of people will remember the goals he scored against Liverpool at Anfield, the last big game before lockdown last year, when that was the first time he'd ever scored 2 goals in a single game in his entire career. He was a defensive midfielder at that point. And as an emergency measure, they needed the goals at Anfield. He scored twice, and he's not looked back since. I think it's 13 goals and 12 assists, something like that. Certainly he's in double figures in both goal scoring and assists. And he's become maybe not just a key for Atletico, but a key player for Spain in the Euros as an attacking midfielder. Completely reinvented himself. It's been remarkable. And another player, for me, the best goalkeeper in the world, Jan Oblak, who routinely makes stunning saves. But the thing that he does more than any other goalkeeper is never make mistakes. He is so reliable, and he has pulled them out of holes a few times.
So as you said, Real Madrid are 2 points back. Now the head-to-head situation means that if Atletico were to draw and Madrid were to win, then Madrid would be crowned champions. So really, Atletico need the win at the weekend. They have been top of the table. It feels like all season. It's since November, and at one stage they had a 10-point lead. So now it's kind of squeaky bum time. Is there a sense they're limping towards the finish line a touch here, or has it been a bit inconsistent, or what's been their general form over the past month or two, Andy?
The past month it's improved. They were limping in the spring. That's when they got the 10-point lead. It seems like they collectively decided, no, it's not going to be this easy. The thing with Atletico is that Simeone, who was there as a player, he was part of the double winning team in '96, captain. So he's Atletico through and through. Player, now coach for nearly 10 years. He thrives on, and this is all part of this debate about the team's playing style. He thrives on being the underdog. He never tires in telling us how Atletico never get anything easy. It's us against the world. We have to fight for everything we get. So when they were 10 points clear at the top, it was all a bit too comfortable. And they did really lose their way for a few weeks, and even were knocked off top spot for a while. But really, Barca were the ones who had it in their hands, and they've fallen apart in the last few weeks. A big result was Atletico getting a draw at the Camp Nou 2 or 3 weeks ago, which meant they stayed ahead of Barca and kept the head-to-head advantage. Barca have continued to drop points since then, so they're out of it now. So what's been impressive is the way they had lost their way, but they've flexed their muscles again in the last few weeks.
And Andy, clearly no title-winning side is a bad side, but is this batch, in terms of how they compare with the league-winning side from 6 years ago, the Champions League final reaching side, like there'd probably be a sense from afar, I don't know how fair it is, that Barcelona and Real Madrid have been poor by their standards, so Atletico have swooped in as opposed to being outstanding.
I agree, yeah, that's fair. And these are transitional times in a way for Barca certainly already, and Real Madrid probably heading into one. Real Madrid have had terrible luck with injuries this season. They've had something like 60 injuries and important players as well. Eden Hazard, obviously, as everyone knows, has never had a run of fitness to show what a player he can be. Injury problems throughout the defence. They've played many games with an entire second-string defence. And there's a feeling that Zinedine Zidane's time is coming to an end. He's hinted at that himself. They've got a lot of older players. Ramos might leave. He's potentially not renewing his contract. Benzema, Modric, well into their 30s. So they have been well below the standards that we have seen in recent years. And for me, Atletico's title in 2014 was a bigger achievement than this one because they were coming from a lower starting point and they were going up against better teams. But, you can only win the league you're in, and they have been the most consistent team all season. They deserve to be champions, I think, but obviously they've got to finish it this weekend.
Yeah. On Eden Hazard, by the way, I think the whole world here, certainly if you're on Twitter, which I do accept is not everybody listening, but they would have seen the TV programme after the Champions League exit to Chelsea, which was just frankly hilarious. To try and describe it would be difficult, but in effect there's dramatic music and there's a male TV presenter with his hair slicked back and a giant picture of Eden Hazard smiling with his former Chelsea teammates on the full-time whistle. And look, I didn't get the translation, but I mean, he kept pointing to his eye and then pointing at the camera as if to say to Hazard, we see you and you're a disgrace and get out of town, etc. Hazard had to kind of, this was a big deal. He had to apologise, I think.
He did, yeah, and he was silly. I mean, to put it into some context,
please,
the TV show, the TV show you're talking about is called Chiringuito, which is beach bar, and that's the vibe they go for. It's the relaxed, informal chat show with bells on. It's as tabloid as you could possibly get. It's not even. It's like the Daily Sport or something like that. They deliberately avoid nuanced debate and just go for who can shout the loudest and say the most dramatic things.
Is it popular?
So yeah.
That's the damning part, isn't it?
It's entertaining. It's entertaining, but it shouldn't. The show itself isn't taken seriously, but the sentiments that were echoed towards Hazard were felt throughout the Madrid fan base, not just because he was seen smiling he was laughing and joking with his former teammates, which was stupid. Just go inside where there's no cameras. Of course, catch up with your old mates, but do it where you're not being filmed. And that was not just because of that, though, the feeling of frustration with him, the culmination of 2 seasons.
Yeah,
that here is one of the most expensive players in club history. He's done practically nothing. There's a growing sense that he's contributed to that by not looking after himself properly. So that really is the background to the fact that he took a lot of stick after that.
He didn't have credit in the bank, is the point. And Damien Duff was on Irish.
Which contrasts him with Gareth Bale, who by the end was getting the same treatment, but had done so well in his first few years that it took longer for that criticism to come.
Yes. Apologies if it sounds like I'm interrupting you. The slight delay on the line, which we'll navigate. But even Damien Duff was on Irish TV over here, and he was talking about, Hazard and saying, turned up overweight for training his first season at Real Madrid. That tells you all you need to know about him, not for me type sentiment. So it seems Hazard has a bit of reputational damage to overcome. You mentioned, Andy, Zinedine Zidane, some rumours his time might be coming to a close For Barcelona and Koeman, this is the first time since 2008 that they will finish outside the top two. How secure is Koeman? Are there rumours of his departure?
He's as secure as a cobweb in the wind. He's probably gone.
Right.
He has many problems. The fact that you mentioned that they finished outside the top two, but he wasn't the president's choice. There was a change in president in February, and so the guy who appointed him isn't there. And the new president obviously wants to make his mark. Joan Laporta, who was president 15 years ago in Pep Guardiola's era, he has already said that the cycle has come to an end. There will be changes this summer. You assume that's going to be the coach. There's a lot of talk about Xavi, who coincidentally arrived in Barcelona this week for a holiday, family holiday, visit his family, which of course he would. Why not? But maybe he's going to combine it with some business as well.
Just how broke are these two in reality? It's always very hard to get a handle on the figures. For instance, if Harry Kane's on the market, would Madrid or Barcelona be in a position to do some fancy accounting or just to keep on borrowing and throw 100 million at a player?
They would have to do some fancy accounting, but they want to. This was what the root of the Super League situation was. Barca, Real Madrid, and of course Juventus, being fully aware that they cannot compete financially with particularly three clubs, Chelsea, PSG, Man City. So when it comes to signing high-profile players like Harry Kane, Mbappe, Haaland, they are desperately struggling. So if they can raise the funds, they'll have to find some way of doing it. Barca are looking at potentially selling the naming rights to Camp Nou. Real Madrid might have to sell some players, maybe Hazard even, but the problem is in this market, there's whatever buyers there are have a lot less money than they did 2 years ago. So it's tough to see how they could afford someone like Harry Kane. And if they could, he wouldn't be the main target. Haaland and Mbappe are the ones they both want. And Madrid more Mbappe, Barca more Haaland.
And one last one, Andy. Florentino Perez, of course, one of the great architects of the European Super League. The dust has largely settled on it over here in England. I was about to say that's not something I probably should say, but certainly in the Premier League, the talk of it over there and over here has largely been consigned to history. Is Florentino Perez still going on about it and trying to talk it up as a distinct possibility, or has he given up on the idea now at this stage? Even has he given up on the idea?
He's not given up on the idea. He's not talking about it anymore, but that's just because he's not doing interviews. Right. If he was doing interviews, he'd be talking about it. He knows that the situation is, as I said, his club cannot compete. They do not have the backing of an oil state, so they cannot compete financially. That's what he wants to change. He also, for years and years, before even Manchester City were bought by Abu Dhabi, that he wants Real Madrid to be playing the best teams in Europe regularly, not 3 or 4 times a season. And that is something he'll continue to push. And they're facing a proceedings from UEFA, which could see them even get banned from the Champions League. So it's by no means over. Yeah,
we'll see when he starts talking about it again. Andy, it was great to have you on. Thanks, Emil.
Thank you.
Andy West there of the BBC joining us from Spain. It's 2-0 to Liverpool against Burnley, 80 minutes on the clock.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Ready for your next big move? The trip from the fridge to the couch. Gamble responsibly. GamblingCare.ie.
Guaranteed Irish business members are working hard to support jobs, communities and help our economy recover and prosper beyond COVID and Brexit.
Who would have thought from humble beginnings in a West Cork butcher shop in the 1880s that Clonakilty Food Company will be exporting their black pudding, white pudding, sausages and rashers around the world today? Supporting 50 jobs in Clonakilty, West Cork, Clonakilty Food Company, a local family business, has made sure that their products are available to families at home and abroad during these challenging times. Let's start our recovery with guaranteedirish.ie. Altogether better.
At Peugeot, we're known for our exciting range of award-winning cars and SUVs. Now we've created a range that's electrifying. The fully electric E208, striking and distinctive. The fully electric E2008 compact SUV, smooth and spacious. And the 3008 plug-in hybrid, combining advanced electric and petrol engine technology. To book a test drive at your nearest Peugeot dealer, visit Peugeot.ie.
We look forward to welcoming you to our Plaza motorway service stations. Quality food and forecourts with Supermax, Papa John's, Super Subs, Bewley's Barista, Max Place Deli and Spar. Come for the fuel, stay for the food. The Plaza Group, the perfect pit stop on your journey. Now open at the Portlaoise Plaza.
First up, a Go Loud original from News Talk.
Get all the news you need to start your day with First Up, the podcast that brings you stories, analysis and interviews with the top newsmakers. First Up, available each weekday morning from 7 a.m. on Go Loud.
Subscribe to this podcast for free on the Go Loud app.
Time to give your home some love this summer? Then don't miss the Harvey Norman in-stock summer sale on furniture, bedding and homewares. Our spacious stores are fully open with a massive range of sofas, dining tables, beds, mattresses and more. In stock, ready for immediate delivery. Up to 50% off handmade sofas. Dining tables from a low $179. Up to 50% off selected rugs. In stock, ready to go. Shop the Harvey Norman in-stock summer sale online or safely in our spacious stores. Open until 6 p.m. daily. Don't miss out.
Launching exclusively at the Laser and Skin Clinic's Emsella, a breakthrough non-invasive treatment for incontinence and body confidence. Emsella is an FDA-approved pelvic floor treatment for female and male patients. Results in just one course of treatments. Call today for your free consultation or visit laserandskin.ie. The Laser and Skin Clinic. Be body confident. T&Cs apply.
This is Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband, a faster, stronger, more reliable connection. Your own line straight to your home. The future at 10 times the speed of life. Get Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband today. Call 1-800-500-300. Go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. Subject to availability. For full terms and conditions, go to air.ie/gigabit fibre.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
So part one of the two-part mission for Liverpool pretty much accomplished here with 6 minutes to go, admittedly at Turf Moor, but they are 2-0 up against Burnley and will head into the final day of the season Sunday with their own destiny in their own hands, which is a massive turnaround from just, a week ago. So 2-0 up there. West Ham United have come back from goal down to go 2-1 up away to West Brom in the earlier games today. 3-1 win for Arsenal away to Crystal Palace. Spurs at home lost 2-1 to Aston Villa. Newcastle were 1-0 winners at home to Sheffield United. And Everton at Goodison were 1-0 winners at home to Wolves. So that was the football this evening. The football show on Off the Ball is with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. That's pretty much us done. Some good pieces in the show tonight. Lawrence Donegan talking USPGA. We had Mike Prendergast on Wednesday Night Rugby reflecting on his ever-burgeoning coaching career. All available for podcasts in the usual places. OTB AM coming at you tomorrow morning. Gareth Roberts will be in the show. The former Galway keeper James Scahill as well on puck-out strategies, and I suspect John Kiley's comments. OTB tomorrow evening, Brian O'Driscoll, John Giles and Brian Barry Murphy, son of Jimmy Barry, who's managing in the Football League at Rochdale, all on the way. Tom Dunn next.